to the sky. Never let adventures pass you by. Be free and follow your crazy dreams. We're living our vision in the RV. Come ride with us and you'll be free.
I was just thinking this morning, how long has it been since we got this new model?
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
That's what I was
No, wait,
thinking.
4 weeks.
Has it been 4?
Yeah, 4 weeks.
And we're still in the same area, so we really haven't got it out on the interstate much yet. But other than this,
short little
distance.
jaunts.
Down to Brownsville and over to South Padre Island. But some friends of ours right here in Harlingen told us about something really interesting.
In Harlingen is the original cast model used for the Iwo Jima monument in Arlington, Virginia.
The Battle of Iwo Jima was one of the bloodiest in World War II, costing over 26,000 American lives but securing a critical victory in the Pacific Theater. On February 23, 1945, on the small island of Iwo Jima, 6 U.S. Marines raised the American flag atop Mount Suribachi, a powerful moment forever captured in a photograph that would ignite the spirit of a nation.
There was a couple reasons why the model monument was brought here. One of them was because the man actually putting the flag in the ground at the time, that was Corporal Harlan Block. Mm-hmm. And he was actually a native of this area over in Westlaco.
Mm-hmm. Part of it has to do with the temperature and humidity that's here in Harlingen throughout the year is perfect for this particular cast of the model and everything. The other reason is the road that we just came in on is actually called Iwo Jima Boulevard, which had already been named that by the Marine Military Academy across the street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was another fitting reason, and I think that's it.
Interesting. I didn't realize this about the road. It was already named Iwo Jima. I figured they just named it that because they brought the monument here.
Oh, no. That's because the road was already named that in 1965, and the model wasn't donated here until like 1981.
Standing tall in Harlingen, Texas is the Iwo Jima Monument replica that is part of the Marine Military Academy, a prestigious institution dedicated to shaping the next generation of leaders. But this isn't just any replica. It's the original plaster model used to create the Marine Corps War Memorial in Arlington, Virginia. However, many people don't know that it wasn't the first flag raised on the island, and the story behind that moment is filled with twists, heroism, and some historical misattributions. On February 23, 1945, U.S. Marines had secured Mount Suribachi, a key strategic point on the island of Iwo Jima. As they reached the summit, a small American flag was raised to signify the capture of the mountain. This moment, captured in a photo by Marine Corps photographer Lewis Lowry, was the first flag to be raised on Iwo Jima. It was a relatively small flag, about 54 inches by 28 inches, and it was intended to be a symbolic gesture, not the grand, historic event that would later become. This flag wasn't large enough to be seen from a distance, so the commanders on the ground wanted to raise a bigger flag to signal the success of the battle to the rest of the troops and to send a clear message of American dominance on the island. The second flag raising was the one that would become the subject of the famous photograph. A group of Marines led by Sergeant Michael Strank, Corporal Harlan Block, Private First Class Franklin Sousley, Private First Class John Bradley, Corporal Ira Hayes, and Private First Class Renee Gagnon was tasked with raising the larger flag. This flag was about 96 inches by 56 inches and much more visible from afar. At that moment, Joe Rosenthal, a photographer from the Associated Press, snapped the now famous photo that would become an enduring symbol of American resolve and sacrifice. It shows 6 Marines raising the flag against a smoky backdrop, arms straining, faces focused, and the American flag unfurling in the wind. For years, people mistakenly thought that this was the first flag to be raised on Iwo Jima, when in fact it was the second. Rosenthal's image went on to become one of the most reproduced and celebrated photographs in history, and it was later immortalized in the Marine Corps War Memorial in Arlington, Virginia.
The battle for the Japanese-held island of Iwo Jima, which was referred to by General Holland M. Smith, the American commanding general, as the most savage and costly battle in the history of the Marine Corps. It took place in February and March of 1945. The American High Command in Guam had estimated that because of the size of the island, it was just 8 square miles, the Marines would capture it in 3 days. They were basing this estimation on the fact that in June, July, and August of 1944, our boys had captured the islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Guam in the Marianas.
There is also an interesting story about the Marines depicted in Rosenthal's photograph. Some of the men in the photo were misidentified. For example, John Bradley, who was a Navy corpsman, was often listed as one of the flag raisers, even though he was not actually part of the original flag raising group on the mountain. Later research and interviews revealed that the real identities of the men were different than what was initially assumed. Tragically, several of the Marines in the famous photo died in the weeks following the battle, and they would not live to see the full impact of their heroism. The second flag-raising photo captured not just the act of raising a flag, but also the determination and unity of the Marines. The dramatic composition, the angle of the shot, and the sheer power of the moment made it resonate deeply with the American public. The photo was published worldwide, and in 1945 it won the Pulitzer Prize for photography. It would later be the inspiration for the Marine Corps War Memorial, and it became a symbol of national pride. The Iwo Jima Museum is filled with artifacts, photographs, and stories from World War II. Together, they provide a deeper understanding of the battle and its lasting impact.
That was an interesting museum, and they're going to remodel it, I think she said.
They're gonna build another one.
A new one? It's gonna,
Yeah, like in a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be bigger and have a coffee shop and all sorts of stuff. And But the 30-minute video,
Yeah.
highly recommend watching that. There are a couple movies out there, like Sands of
Iwo Jima
with John Wayne, the Americans' perspective on the war, and then there was Letters of Iwo Jima, which gives the Japanese perspective. I had an uncle, my dad's brother, that was in Iwo Jima also. I know my cousins have shared stories that my uncle had obviously shared with them, and he was a Marine right there in the midst of the war. He was running a machine gun. In fact, he wrote up something here. I'll just read it.
Your cousin wrote this,
Yeah,
right?
this was from my cousin. Sorry. It said, Thursday, February 26, 1945. My father was wounded during the 8th day of the battle for Iwo Jima. His machine gun targeted by Japanese mortars. He and his ammo handler were both wounded. Medics and stretcher bearers moved toward him, but he waved them away because they were favorite targets for snipers. Dad crawled to the aid station with wounds in both knees and feet. Recently, I learned that most of his Marine company would be decimated in the first week of March. So it is a mixed blessing his wounds caused his evacuation to a hospital ship. Days before he escaped death, when he suddenly moved his team from one foxhole to another because he had a, quote, bad feeling, unquote. That position was hit shortly after they moved. One other time, he was removing a trench shovel from the back of another Marine. A sniper's bullet hit his friend and the shovel right over his heart. After recovering in a hospital, Dad is saved from the invasion of the Japan home islands.
What they saw during war, I mean, that's part of the reason why a lot of them don't even talk about it. Some of our older relatives, they never really brought up, what they faced in the war.
And knowing my uncle, growing up, he seemed to be okay, but some people have a way of hiding their pain.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I can't even imagine what him and the others went through.
The monument you see here was created by renowned sculptor Felix de Weldon. Every detail, from the strain in the soldiers' faces to the tension in their poses, captures the essence of that moment. It's more than just a statue. It's a testament to unity, perseverance, and sacrifice.
And this is the grave of Harlan Block, the man that is in the front of everybody putting the flag in the ground.
Into the ground, yeah.
Welcome to the Iwo Jima Monument. The Marine Military Academy, which is privately owned and operated as a college preparatory high school, is the proud custodian of this magnificent memorial.
This plaster model found its home in Harlingen, a fitting tribute in a community closely tied to the Marine Corps. Standing here, it's hard not to feel a profound sense of gratitude. This monument doesn't just tell the story of 6 men. It reminds us of the countless lives that were given for our freedom. For us, it's a moment to reflect on the sacrifices made by those who came before us and to honor their legacy.
This little pamphlet that we got from the museum, it does talk about the monument here. It says, when the picture, the famous picture, was later released, the sculptor, Dr. Felix Weldon, was on duty with the U.S. Navy, and he was so moved by that scene that he constructed a scale model within 48 hours, which became the symbol for the 7th and the final war bond drive. And after the war, he felt that the inspiring event should be depicted on a massive scale in our nation's capital. So he labored 9.5 years to prepare a model from molding plaster.
And that's it right there.
And once he had it done, then it was carefully disassembled and trucked to Brooklyn, New York for bronze casting. And then after a 3-year casting, process. Then the parts were trucked to Arlington, Virginia, and that is the monument that is there, basically, is the bronze statue. Then in October of 1981, the sculptor donated his original plaster model to this area here in Harlingen, and that's the monument that we have right here.
This is the original model that he used to make the one in Arlington.
Correct. Yeah. So some of the statistics of the monument, the figures on it are 32 feet high, and it has an erecting 78-foot steel flagpole from which an American flag flies over it 24 hours a day. One more thing.
Oh, sure. Bring it on.
The entire cost of developing the memorial site here was donated by active and retired U.S. Marines, Marine Corps reservists, friends of the Marine Corps, members of the Naval Service, as well as the Marine Military Academy trustees, alumni, cadets, and friends. No public funds were used on the project. They were all donations.
You know what?
What?
They're getting ready to close the gate.
Oh.
But we got to go.
Oh, yeah.
Whether we're ready to go or not, we betster go. Betster go. There's a new one. Betster go.
Let's celebrate. Call it a day and celebrate. Let's celebrate. Call it a day.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click that little bell, and hit that thumbs up.
Call it a day.
See you next week.